Good morning. Look at that. Look at that messed up green screen. Okay, having some technical issues after refurbishing my studio. Good morning. Buenos dias. Have a sip. Enjoy your coffee. Good morning, Mo. Good afternoon. Okay, it sounds like audio is likely. There we go. Audio is good. So let's jump into it. You can join the chat on X/Twitter or YouTube or Twitch. Seems like most people chat on YouTube. So come on in, say hi, join the gang, and let's talk. So I saw someone post this, and it's a quote from Alice in Wonderland, and it's very appropriate, especially in the AI age that we're living in and the AI development world that we're learning about. Here we must run as fast as we can just to stay in place, and if you wish to go anywhere, you must run twice as fast as that. I concur, Mr. Rabbit. I concur. So, the weekend, I I honestly don't remember what I did last weekend. I had to go through the photos of my phone, and I found this because I it reminded me that I had my oil change this weekend. So I was too busy doing during the week to get it done. I had a cold, so I dragged myself out of bed, and at 8 8:15, 8:30, something like that, I rolled in the dealership and I waited for the oil change, which is I don't normally do that, but I'm just sick of not having a car full day. So I said, okay, let me bring the laptop, get set up, mobile office, and do some work. And little experiment because every new place I go, I never know if it's going to work, whether cell signal, Wi-Fi, whatever, space to sit. So I was able to grab a table. No one was there, or it was pretty empty. And amazingly, I was able to get a laptop, get my iPad set up as a second screen on the Mac, and I was able to connect remotely using SonicWall Cloud Secure Edge. Was able to connect to my Windows Dev server to do some vibe coding. And yeah, I don't know that I was terribly productive, but I got some stuff done. I don't remember what it was, but and always a good sign when I can tether to my phone and get over 400 megabit per second in theory, right? But zero issues getting any work done. So that was good to know. Not that I want to hang out at car dealerships anytime soon, but yeah, that's an option. I do not remember what I did for the rest of the weekend. Just, it's a blur. Weekly projects. I worked on and need to continue to finish my Vibe conference presentations. And that refers to the Partner in Vibe conference that is next week in Texas. Tanya and I will be co-presenting on a couple things, and I will be co-presenting with David Laster on a topic. PMI PMP certification happened this week. Partner dashboard app, PTE event, troubleshooting. Whoa, that's fun. Teams planner. I didn't make any progress there, so that was just my ambition to try and look at Teams planner. And maintenance service agreement pricing. We are making progress on that. So Monday Lunas. After probably having a cold all weekend, I had calls all day long, like all day long, nonstop, back to back. It was exhausting. And one of the calls or one of the meetings was an invitation from Tobias Fenster to have Jeremy Viska and I join him on his podcast called Window on Technology. And so go check it out. He wanted Jeremy and I to talk about AI development, agentic development, as the cool kids might call it. So we talked about all sorts of aspects of AI, from the development tools, what we use it for, how it improves our efficiency, what are the pros and cons, how it's not going to magically replace all developers on the planet yet. So yeah, go check out Window on Technology podcast and listen to Jeremy and I. App in production. So we have our AppSource app in production being used. Oh, hey, Ted. So Ted checked out the Window on Technology podcast. I thought it was a great conversation. Jeremy had some great ideas because he is farther along, much, much deeper in the process than I am. I am taking the route of a total clueless noob who just starts out playing with these things. I am not smart enough to use all these crazy tools that are coming out. So I'm just seeing what I can do with the minimal set of tools. App in production. So we have a new AppSource app in production with a customer, and it is wild. I've said this before, no matter how much testing you do, as soon as that thing hits production, you're just like, how is it possible that months of testing, this was just never even remotely identified, discussed, thought about, encountered? And it's just that there's only so much you can test. Even if you have a copy of prod, you're not going to do all the crazy things you do in prod. So we tested a lot, but there were still surprising little things that we identify after the fact, like obscure permission issues was one. So we're integrating with a SaaS platform and we're like, why doesn't this work? Well, because in testing, everyone had elevated permissions. Didn't occur to us to check that because we don't know that SaaS platform well enough to know where all the permissions are buried, and we didn't really set up the accounts. And in order to fully use our product, we needed elevated permissions. So we just jumped to admin. So stuff like that, really, really wild. And sequencing, right? When you test, you tend to test in order. Oh, I need to do A, B, C, D, and then so on. But in production, we're discovering that people are doing things out of order. Oh, I started with step 3. Oh, I need to go back and do step 1. Then maybe I'll do 5 and 2 and 4. And things get out of sequence, and your beautifully orchestrated application that expects things to occur in this order just kind of gives up when users make up some new sequence of events in the application. So that's interesting. But I think we have it dialed in. We're 99.99% of the way there. We just have one minor tweak, which nothing to do with our application. But yeah, it's going well. Dev call, nonstop edge cases. I don't remember what the topic was, but I'll talk about it later. We are just blown away the last couple weeks, the last couple months, the number of edge cases that we're running into. We're trying to figure out what's causing this error, and we look into it and we're like, wait, that really happened? Zero chance we could have anticipated that. Zero chance that would have been in a test plan. Zero chance like anyone would have imagined this sequence of events, or the user doing this, or the system acting weird. Like truly bizarre stuff. And I got a humdinger coming up, like this BC bug that I was just like, wait, what? Through a series of just the most unlikely sequence of events imaginable, we find a bug. It's like, how is this even possible? And it's nonstop. It's like every week we run into these, and we're just scratching our head like, what are we doing? We don't find them. They are actively finding us. That's kind of our philosophy at this point. I started this on Monday, started to review all of the DynamicsCon session submissions for Business Central. So I am on the programming committee, I guess they call it, for Business Central. And we have a team of people who volunteer to review all the session submissions and apply the conference guidelines in order to evaluate, is this a session a potential fit or not? Is it in the wrong track? Things like that. Ted says 2 hours to vibe an app and 10 days to write error trapping process enforcement. Well, at the moment, we are dealing with hand-coded apps, which we're realizing is no better, right? Handcrafted, every line curated with just, bespoke goodness. And we're finding just as many bugs as vibe coded stuff. It's just different. And the, uh, yeah, it's like when you get to the end of that long tail, just the bugs you find or the issues you find or the environmental quirks, you're just like, what? It's kind of crazy. So while reviewing Dynamics concession submissions, just in the first pass, it's just, does it meet criteria or not, pretty much. I just noticed people's titles, and I don't know, I'm assuming these are titles people just are self-appointing to them. Solution strategist, solution architect, I get it. Like, should I call myself a solution strategist? I don't know. Is that a thing? Do you strategize your solutions? I don't know. I can imagine you architect solutions. And one I appreciated, accounting nerd, hats off. I like nerd geek. I'm all about that. But the ones that surprised me where people submitted a title, like a job title for themselves of expert. I'm an ERP expert. I am a Business Central or some other product expert. And I'm thinking, I know a good handful of experts in this area, but I don't know who you are. So it's, hello, Brad. Welcome to the Claudebot conversation. Bring your lobster. Okay. But expert, I'm just like, okay. And this one was good. World renowned. Someone literally put in their title, I am a world renowned speaker, expert, whatever. And I thought, you have got to be kidding me. I've never heard of you. I don't know who you are. And your topic is like, it's acceptable, not blowing my socks off here. So that was wild. And then another one, wizard. I'm a XYZ wizard. And I get it. They're trying to be playful, but like I'm going through 300 of these things and I see this and I'm like, you're standing out, not in a positive way. So maybe it's just me, but world renowned. Can I put that in my title now? I'm an expert world renowned wizard. So the things I see. Tuesday, Martes. Design and refactoring time zones. So we have had numerous conversations internally with how to deal with time zones in Business Central. And one just example is we want to set up a job queue. We want the job queue to run at a certain time. You can't just say 9 p.m. What does that even mean with Business Central? There is no 9 p.m. There's 9 p.m. UTC. That's not where my customer is at. Do we want 9 p.m. customer time? If the customer's in 4 time zones in the United States, which do we choose, right? And if they're in one primary time zone, how do we get that time zone, know where the user's located, and set their job queues to run relative to that time zone? You'd think this would be figured out. It was my recollection. It's been a while since we had to implement that, but you'd be surprised what a hassle it is to figure all that out. So then we're building a new internal app that we're calling Partner Dashboard. Franklin is building it. He has built it. We're in testing. And in order to facilitate the management of time zones for all our customer tenants and assign a time zone to each tenant, we need a time zone list. And so we look at the one BC has. It's not sufficient. So we say, okay, we need our own time zone list. So we find that the admin API endpoint has a time zone list. Beautiful. We pull it down. Well, now we need to have enabled, disabled, which ones are selected, because we don't want the user to have to view 150 time zones or whatever there are. So then the challenge you will discover is that a time zone list theoretically changes every single day. depending on what time zone is doing what crazy daylight saving thing. I don't want to program in dates of DST changes all over the world. So we're just refreshing it nightly. But that wipes out your enabled, disabled, select. And so it is crazy how much like you're just like, why is this so hard? But Franklin and our senior dev worked together, developed a very clever, elegant, slick system for having global time zone list, which ones are relevant to our customers, which ones do we want to see, which ones do we want to hide, and nightly refresh of all of those time zones to get the correct DST enabled or not, current time, slick solution. I'm sure we're going to reuse it again. So really interesting problem to solve, right? So it was a great experience for Franklin, and he's nailed it. Vibe coding to 1 million. So this went around on Twitter and YouTube and social media where this guy, Matthew Miller, young guy, he's decided to create this company, BridgeMine. I don't know what it is, what he does, what he's trying to build, where he is live streaming every day till he makes 1 million in revenue. I don't know. But like on the one hand, props to him. He's bouncing around like he's on, a case of Red Bull doing push-ups in between Claude intervals. And he's got his dog there wearing sunglasses. So moderately entertaining. And he's on day 124.5 at this point. I started to watch mildly novel, but then one day he says, oh yeah, I've been getting offers for crypto coins. This apparently is a thing where these vibe coded projects that get popular, some crowd comes in and says, you need some crypto coin like BridgeMine coin or whatever it's called. And they said, no, that's not for me. Well, then the next day he's like, yeah, we're launching a coin. I'm like, okay. End of conversation. I just turned him off. It's like, whatever. Because he spent 30 minutes talking about his coin and the investment strategy. I'm like, okay. So, grain of salt there. Partner ransomware. We were supposed to have a call with a partner to talk about helping them with numerous Business Central customers. And they canceled the call. The partner said, yep, got to cancel the call indefinitely because we have ransomware. And they didn't elaborate, but they're basically down and they're not able to function. So they can't even have a call with us to talk to a prospect because of partner ransomware. So just another weekly reminder that it does exist and it will take you down. Is there much you can do about it? I don't know. I wish I knew. About all I got right now is if you're using Microsoft, D365 Premium has slightly better security controls out of the box. Endpoint protection, don't click on links. I don't know what to tell you. I tried to focus, I really did, but then a squirrel came along and I was lost for the rest of Tuesday. And I was sitting there, I'm like, man, I really need to start to work out or stretch or exercise. And so I have a friend who created this, he's like a founder, created this website with a full-on AI-based exercise program, justgains.com. So I pinged him. I signed up and I started to do these little warm-ups. And after the first warm-up, I was like, wow, I'm tired. Okay, I'm going to sit down. So anyway, if you need, and what's kind of cool about it is I said, look, I don't want to go to a gym. I'm not 30 years old. I'm not going to be, doing these intense, crazy workouts. I need something where I'm at home, sit at my desk, and do basic exercises, stretch, get active without driving to a gym and touching a bunch of dirty, sweaty gym equipment. And he's like, no problem. Just ask the AI for your workout. And so I did. I just, typical AI stuff. I typed in a few sentences and it built me this whole exercise and workout routine. And you can adjust, you can replace. It's got dozens of alternate exercises in case you don't like something or you want to change the type of exercise. So I was like, cool. Have I used it much since? No, but it's cool. I need to go back and start doing it. So these are my at-home, easy stretching, endurance, basic exercises. So that was that. And I'm like, oh, I was watching the the spazzy guy jumping around doing his 120 plus day live stream to make $1 million. And I thought, wow, he's using a standing desk. Again, another squirrel moment. And I was like, maybe I need a standing desk. I tried it before. It was pretty exhausting, honestly. So I bailed on it. But then I was like, oh, well, let me just check it out. So figured out what the ideal height was for a standing desk. And then I cobbled together this beauty. Yeah. So I took my Eureka Mignon box and some other box, put my laptop on it, put a monitor in the back on the other box, taped it down, and I tried a standing desk. So it's right over there. I may try it again, but yeah, cheaper and easier to see whether I like it or not. And it wasn't too bad. So I may go ahead with it and just build a little platform. And then late at night, I tried Claude Code on mobile. By try, I mean I just got it working. I used Termius to connect to my, I think it's my CloudBot Ubuntu server or Ubuntu workstation, I don't even know. And Termius connected from my iPhone into Unix, Linux, whatever, and got Claude installed and was able to access it from my phone. What I do with it at that point, I have no idea. But I saw a post on this, looked interesting. In theory, this would allow me to open Termius on my phone anywhere in the world. I'll be connected via SSH through SonicWall Cloud Secure Edge, my overlay network, and I'll be able to do a voice prompt or an AI generated prompt into Termius and say, hey, Claude, go do this. And it'll just go do stuff. What that stuff is, no idea. But hey, I'm vibe coding. Wednesday, Miraculous. Whoa, this was a cool day. OSINT webinar. If you have not heard of OSINT, it is open source intelligence. Basically, scouring the web, scouring databases, scouring websites to find information on person, place, thing, topic, whatever. And this is used by cybersecurity researchers, red teamers, pen testers, in order to basically target someone or something. It is staggering. These people who do this for a living, you have no idea. It is like watching 5 world-class magicians in one person just do things that you didn't realize was even remotely possible. Things are levitating, objects are flying, telekinesis, you name it. So this session was OSINT Like a Hacker by Anti-Siphon Training with Michal Khan, and holy bananas, absolutely mind-melting. So he used the example of trying to find John Cena, the famous person, and he just says, let's start with a Google search. Let's look up John Cena, see where he lives. He lives in Florida. Oh, nice. I happen to know that the Florida Department of State has a publicly accessible voter registration database. First name, last name, birth date. All easy to do for a personality, right? Based on this, you get a name and home address. And you can't lie on your voter registration card, and it's public. So, boom. Instantly dox John Cena. Didn't really dox it because it's all publicly available information. Now, he didn't do this for poor John because he beat up on John enough, but he then goes and says, let me just pretend this is John's house. So he goes to a nearby street in Florida, and he says, let's just pretend we are trying to investigate this person's house. Finds the address, it's right there in Google Maps, and you see 2 cars in the driveway. He's like, okay. He shows how you go to any insurance company website, auto insurance, you type in the address, and it uses publicly available databases to list the cars that are registered at that address in order to verify that these cars in the photo are owned by the person living at that address. So those Google Street View photos, doxing you. What are you going to do? Like Put a car cover over, I guess you could. Park in the garage is a better idea. Or live in a gated community like John Cena. And then he showed this fun trick. If you know someone is staying at a given hotel, you can go to that hotel's website, log into the Wi-Fi portal, and then you use this tool, which scans that Wi-Fi portal and essentially does a brute force or iteration attack against that Wi-Fi website. And as long as you know the person's name, it will try every single room number in that hotel and then tell you which room the person is staying in. Took 5 seconds for him to do this. So he stayed at this hotel a week ago, and he was able to live still find the room that he was in because it responded with a different HTTP code in seconds. Any hotel with Wi-Fi. These are unprotected portals. They have no rate limiting, wide open. So he does this all the time. You can easily tell what room anyone is in. Wild. And then he shared this. He says, if you're on GitHub, GitHub has not a security flaw, but it's very easy to determine someone's private email address on GitHub unless you enable these options. Let's see, what way do I go? So there's keep my email address private and then block command line pushes that expose my email. So you have to dig into the email privacy settings in GitHub in order to hide these. And he was able to pull up any repo and see the Gmail address that that person used, their personal email address exposed on a repo. And these are just a few examples, one after another, like nonstop. This guy could go on for 8 hours just showing all the tools and all the ways he can, basically find anything about you. And that doesn't even get into tools like LexisNexis and credit bureau stuff that you can have subscriptions to and buy that, very, very difficult to scrub that stuff. So I don't know that there's a way to eliminate it. And this is one, EPOS. You enter an email, it will give you social media links, and you can see all the person's posting history on Google, for instance. Any reviews, restaurant reviews, photos you posted online. It's basically just a doxing engine, Google is. And so he just showed tool after tool after tool. He even showed, in the case of John Cena, how he had obfuscated his address on current business filings, but then he was able to look up every single year of business filings and incorporation documents in the state of Florida, going all the way back to when it was initially incorporated, and made the mistake of incorporating out of a residential address. So the one mistake will completely dox you, and depending on how critical that is, it was truly amazing. Now, this webinar is available on YouTube now, so check out Anti-Siphon Training. You don't need to be a super hacker. These are just really everyday concepts he explains. You'll be absolutely blown away what he finds, and then thinking how difficult it is to try and prevent this type of data disclosure. And then I had an awesome call with the founders of a company called Gambito, and they are in Uruguay. And so someone mentioned that they were starting to work with a nearshore service provider in Latin America. I said, hey, I'm interested. So I stalked the owners of this and requested a call, and had a great call with them, shared what I'm doing in El Salvador, asked them how they run their business in Ecuador, what their focus is. They do Business Central, Power Platform, and CE, I believe. So they have a team of, I think, around 30 people, and really great conversation, and hoping to go down to Uruguay in, let's see, what did we say, June, I think, to potentially visit them. So yeah, and they will also be at U.S. conferences. I think Directions NA and Dynamics Con, so I'm hoping to meet up with them when they visit the U.S. And then something called GitHub Copilot CLI has been released. And if you've heard of Claude Code, Claude Code, I think this is Microsoft's response to Claude Code, is my guess, plus more. All sorts of stuff going on. I barely understand it, but in theory, I think this is similar to Claude Code, plus maybe some other stuff. And so, yeah, whatever that is, check it out. I may check it out and see if it's an alternative to Claude Code. The command line interface looks very similar. And we found a bug, speaking of time zones, we found a bug in a Business Central time zone. So we were doing testing of our internal partner dashboard app and works great. Tanya goes to use it and it's giving her a license error. We thought, that's weird. I checked. It's licensed. It's valid. It's like, yeah, it should work. But it's saying like session timeout. And we go and look this up and it's like, this doesn't make any sense. It's just sending the registration request and a timestamp to our registration server. But it kept failing. And we're like, what is going on? Then we looked at our telemetry and we see that there was a delay, what looked like a request delay of 3,600 seconds. And those of you who are programmers, what does 3,600 seconds sound like? Sounds a lot like 1 hour. So it seems, after some sleuthing, that when Tanya tries to validate her license key from her tenant, it's 1 hour off. When we do it, it's milliseconds off. So we were baffled. How is this possible? We looked at our code. It's grabbing UTC time, submitting it, saying, validate my license. But Tanya's is 1 hour off. Baffled. So we said, Tanya, can you check the time zone that is defined under my settings? Hence this whole time zone conversation with BC earlier. It is a landmine. It turns out, for whatever reason, her time zone under my settings was set to some time zone we never heard of in Mexico. It's similar in concept to US time zones, but they reference a different city and they say Mexico. And we're like, can you try changing it? She changes it, works fine. She changes it back to the Mexican time zone, 1 hour off. It turns out there's a Mexican time zone, Kaluta, something like that. I think it's like Mexican Central Time. It has we think, we are having a hard time verifying it. I'm going to have to vibe code a little utility to test. One of the 4 Mexican time zones has an improper DST flag, we think. And when it gets converted to UTC through the Business Central My Settings time zone, whatever, it is reporting an incorrect time zone, causing our license validation to fail because we do timestamp validation. We block replay attempts. If there's 30-second delay, we block that, things like that. So we discovered, and this is what I'm talking about, edge cases. These are insane. We discovered that a Mexican time zone has a bug in Business Central. Like, what are the odds? What are the odds? We were just sitting on the phone, just like, you've got to be kidding me. And then I have invented a new vibe coding character. You may have heard of Ralph Wiggum, aka Ralph, and that is where you get the AI to just loop continuously. Well, I've invented the Michael Jackson, and that is where you vibe code really bad code. And so it's bad. I vibe coded a PTE. I'm like, yep, it works. I don't look at the code. And worked in my sandbox, tried to deploy it in the customer sandbox, doesn't work. Tried to refactor it, doesn't work. Refactored again in a different manner, still doesn't work. I was like, okay, I actually have to dig into this and figure out what's going on. Oh dear, the code is so bad. It was so bad even I recognized it. Like, there's something called error handler code unit. Newsflash, There was no error handling in the code unit. It was basically a processing code unit with 10 different procedures that were unrelated piled into a code unit called error handler. And I said, Copilot, why is it called error handler? Good question. It looks like that is a misnamed code unit. And on and on and on and on. So I had it refactor itself. It cleaned it up a little bit. I'm sure it's not perfect, but still didn't work. So yes, I have invented the Michael Jackson vibe coding routine. Happy to share it with any of you if you'd like some horrible code. And related to this is what I call when events conspire. The reason for this problem with this PTE is that we did a performance profiler trace. I don't know if I mentioned this last week. When we do performance profiler and we say go, and then we get an error, it captures 1,400 events well, not in performance profiler. It's like event profiler, event trace, whatever that's called. 1,400 line items are spewed out. And we're like, whoa. Now, Business Central has a lot of events that fire, but this a little overboard. And so we're having to figure out, can we get this PTE to do what we want and circumvent some events? So we're walking a tightrope there. Okay, upcoming events. Próximos eventos. Partner in Vibe next week. I need to finish up my presentation. See you there in Texas. Directions NA. Late April in Orlando. I do not know if I'm going yet. I don't know if I'm going to be presenting yet. So that's a big factor in terms of cost. Dynamics Con in May in Las Vegas. I will be there. Dynamics Minds May 25th through 27th in Slovenia. I will not be there, but all the cool kids go to Slovenia. Good morning, Jason. Come on in. Okay. Thursday, Jueves. Yesterday, I had back-to-back support calls, 8:30 in the morning, before I could even finish my coffee. It was rough. I was just struggling to try and understand some of these issues. It was really taxing me. But yes, figured them out, got most of them settled, and yes. Salesforce. Oh my gosh. Let me know if anyone else has had this experience. Customer says, yeah, we want to use BC or whatever ERP. I've done it with GP and now with BC. We have calls. We have scoping calls. We have design calls. We have requirement calls. We have call after call. We have notes. We have documentation. We have proposals that take endless hours of time because they use Salesforce. Well, we do all this stuff in Salesforce. How do we integrate it with BC? It is an absolute nightmare. Because there's nothing standard about Salesforce when a customer has been customizing it for the last 10 years. So they do all sorts of wacky stuff in Salesforce. The data model in Salesforce is often an absolute mess because it's been, cobbled together over the decade. It does just some zany things. Some things don't work well. It's never been refactored, cleaned up, whatever, because they kind of have this crusty data model and objects or whatever. And in order to fix this problem, they'd have to re-architect their data infrastructure, which, it's like changing engines on an airplane in mid-flight. We have been working with this customer since before February 2024. The oldest notes I have on the second call were February 2024. It's almost 2 years later. 2 years. And they're just now starting the process of configuring Business Central. No go live date at the moment. And it's just started with us trying to do all the integration work. Then they said that's too expensive. So then they're going to have their Salesforce developer, an internal resource, do all the integration work from Salesforce to BC. That person, understandably, doesn't know BC, is not an accountant, is not used to ERP integrations, apparently. So absolutely nothing has progressed. So now we're being brought back in. Can we help? How do we do this? Heavens, help. So we'll see. It's crazy. I had a lunch meeting in Orange County, California. Welcome to Orange County. Yeah, so Jason says only Salesforce integration we've done is expose a limited number of BC APIs like push sales invoice and data in BC. Yes, that's the concept, but this customer has so much going on in Salesforce that they want it synced to BC, and they currently use Dynamics GP, and they're doing this semi-manual file extract or something process with an integration tool to get it in a GP. They want to get rid of all that mess, understandably, but they're going to have like at least 6 or 8 different integrations going 2 directions between BC and Salesforce. It's going to get nasty. So we'll see. This is Orange County, California, and you could see this at a gas station. You could see it at the grocery store. I was just going to lunch, and right in front of the restaurant, 2 Lamborghinis. Like, yeah, nothing. Yep. And that is why I have to have insane car insurance, because if I happen to bump into one of these things, like game over, right? Insane. Key person insurance. Learning about this is where this is like executives and officers and owners of companies get life insurance just in case something should happen. So I'm looking into this because something happens to me, we have employees and staff to take care of, and we want the business to continue. So I'm having a look at life insurance policies for business. Interesting conversations. Managed service agreements. We're making progress on this. Thank you to David Laster for motivating me to have this, to make progress on this. Brad says you will see some insane cars. What is wild is down the street from me, there's a $250,000 Lamborghini Urus, along with a Mercedes, a Corvette, and whatever the Hyundai higher end car is. Like, it's like a car dealer there. And so there's this young guy driving a Lamborghini Urus on my street. And I'm like, what? So when I learned a little more about what happens if you hit one of those cars with your car insurance, whoa, I had to call my insurance company, because like this is the neighborhood I live in. And granted, hopefully they're the only car like that on the block, but still, it's crazy. So managed service agreements, we are finally, we're late to the party, getting our act together, assembling managed service agreements, coming up with prices. We originally tried to do a menu price with kind of fixed price with tiers, and it's just like really hard to come up with different service levels or plans and users and complexity and integration, customizations, apps. So we're going to go with a per customer pricing, and based on their profile, their configuration, modules, support load, what help they need, we are going to offer them an annual price for managed service agreements. And I need to get a legal document drafted, because you think, oh, how hard can it be to do a managed service agreement and say, here's what support we're going to provide? It's an absolute nightmare. And if you get in the details, first question, what is your SLA? Last question, because SLAs are an absolute nightmare, and just the legal contract terms of SLAs and response times and what's included, what's not included, and just having to cover all those bases, it's super annoying. So we're going to hire a lawyer to get a managed service agreement drafted for us that works for us. And last night, proud dad, I was in a high school gymnasium with my daughter doing prom escort practice. So that is where we walk on the red carpet, and I walked down the red carpet with my daughter. So that was actually fun. It got me away from the computer. And so that's tonight, actually. So I need to go back and do the real deal tonight. I need to find a suit. I haven't worn a suit in a long time. Let's just put it that way. And then cyber AI updates. Oh, man. Swear my production intern is sleeping at the wheel. Let me just fix this. There we go. So if I've mentioned Zach Corman before, he is he is the CTO, I think, with a company called Pistachio that's trying to offer some type of cybersecurity solution for SMB mid-market customers. And he has been having some pretty entertaining takes on Twitter. And so amazing. John Hammond, who is a cybersecurity legend, he has a great YouTube channel, very entertaining stuff. Wow, 2 million subscribers. John Hammond reached out to him and had an interview with him based off of a blog post that Zach wrote about MCP servers. And if you're not familiar with MCP servers, that stands for Model Context Protocol, I believe. And this is something I think Anthropic invented in order to try to allow AI agents or AI dev tools to kind of on the fly access and query information. And this was couched as some revolutionary new clever thing. But Zach on this interview breaks down what an MCP server is, and it is just a horribly implemented web service. Like agonizingly bad design. And he jokes that S in MCP stands for security. Zero security, zero auth is just an absolute nightmare in every dimension based on how he describes it. It's just like, why would anyone do this? Why don't you take Swagger and make a standard API with Swagger and multiple endpoints and pathing and the structure we've had for years, and just call that an MCP server and have your AI call that and crawl that and navigate that? No. MCP apparently is a single endpoint, no pathing, no Swagger, no definitions. And as I don't know that I haven't looked into it. As Zach describes it, it's an absolute disaster. It's like an intern vibe coded a web service, basically, ignoring all of the knowledge and architecture and design methodologies that have existed and been developed in the last 20 years. So pretty entertaining. So, and this was a great tweet. To the 7 people still using MCP, don't. So Zach demonstrates how he can get, I think he uses Gemini typically because it's so easy to exploit. He can get MCP servers to inject malicious prompts automatically into your agent chat session. So if you simply connect and utilize an MCP server, it's basically doing prompt injection invisibly and basically takes hold of your session and gains persistent there. So his game service was very entertaining. I don't know what that means, but Ted, you can fill us in. So anyway, check out Zach, check out John Hammond's interview. Excellent stuff. Not a week goes by without Fortinet getting absolutely trashed, and I kind of feel bad for them, but yeah. FortiGate firewalls hacked an automated attack, and basically AI automated tools doesn't really. Ted says he has a game that injects problems. Okay. Yes, at the moment I'm not coughing and sneezing. Okay, let's just like keep it on the DL in case the virus is here. Otherwise, they're showing up on my doorstep. So FortiGate is just getting trashed left and right every week, one thing after another. And I think there are 2 different things that are being attacked here. This is FortiGate firewall devices being actively attacked. And then I believe the Fortinet web portal for remote management is all the SSO and authentication is being completely bypassed to attack the firewalls. It is crazy. I don't know how much longer Fortinet's going to stay in business. Cloudflare. This is fun. 0-day vulnerability, but this is in their web application firewalls. I've never really understood how web application firewalls work, but in this case, I guess they don't work. Attackers could bypass security controls and directly access the protected origin servers through a certificate validation path. So they basically completely circumvented the Cloudflare web application firewall. Good stuff. So even people who are trying to do things right, good luck. You could have a fancy firewall, fancy Cloudflare layer. I don't know what to tell you. Partner in Vibe conference next week. I am trying to finish up my nearshore consulting practice presentation. I then need to work on my $1 million lawsuit presentation. And thankfully, David Laster is more organized than I, and he has most of the slides done for managing modern support and service agreements for SaaS. Friday, Viernes, that would be today. And once again, my intern how do I do this? There we go. Okay. Dynamics Con Programming Committee call today, where we're going to review the first round and see how we want to organize and select. I then have a call to discuss direct debit functionality, BAI2 direct debit. And that was a nifty little vibe-coded functional design document that I did after a 15-minute phone call. Who knew? So this is a follow-up call where we're just going to discuss if this is something the customer wants, what the requirements are, can we get a copy of their BAI2 specs, and then can we build it? Yeah, and we'll probably, my understanding is Business Central just does not have any BAI2 support. Even vendors, third parties, ISVs have limited BAI2 support. They may have it for one use case, not others. So I think we're just going to build a BAI2 and direct debit application offered in AppSource. And BC review call. I'm invited to these calls. I don't know what it means. It just says BC review. So I show up, do what I'm told, answer questions, and it's like a mystery to me. Bill.com MEM integration API. We worked on that this week, and that is for our newly released Blue Dragonfly Bill.com MEM integration. And you can tell I named it due to the very clever naming that I used for this application. This took a long time. I do not recommend anyone try this. We have done it. We have finished. It works. It works well. It was a very painful process. We have a full Business Central to Bill.com integration. And you might say, Steve, doesn't Bill.com already have a Business Central integration? The answer is yes, but it has no support for multi-entity management. And 40 to 50% of our customers use multi-entity management. And one of them used Bill.com. So we made the fateful decision to offer to develop this, and it put some years on our lives here. I have even thinner gray hair, finally live, finally working, finally ironed out all the kinks, works well, moderately complex. There's a lot going on there. So for those of you using Bill.com and Business Central with MEM, we got you covered until you tell us you use it in a completely different manner, using completely different features. And then we put our hands in our head in our hands and just kind of cry as we refactor and add new features for you. So then I have Berlin afternoon call, and then I head off for my follow-up with the eye doctor to check out my eyeball, which is doing fine. And Summit NA Roadshows, dynamicscommunities.com, Dallas, Tampa, DC, Atlanta, Houston, Seattle, and Vancouver coming up from January. Oh, sorry, Dallas was yesterday. Well, hope that was good. So double check all those dates and go check out a roadshow. And DynamicsCon Regionals, dynamicsusergroup.com, Vancouver, Denver, Toronto, Ghana. If you're in Ghana, head on over to the Accra User Group July 25th. Check it out. And Columbus in August. Double check the dates as always. And it's been a little quiet on the Excellence Update side with ERP Center of Excellence in beautiful Berlin, El Salvador. Jocelyn and David are both studying hard for the MB800. We're in a nice brief quiet period between projects. So they are studying very hard. And one of the cool things was during a call with Jocelyn, we were talking about inventory transactions, quantity adjustments versus value adjustments, whatever those terms are in BC. And she used the term replenishment. And I was like, you go, girl. Because if you've lived in Berlin and you've met some Salvadorans, even if they speak English, I can guarantee you, you will not hear the word replenishment spoken anywhere in town. So that was how I knew she'd been studying, because that's not a word that we would even use typically in a conversation when talking about Business Central. But we talked about inventory transactions, inventory receipts, and she says, oh, that's the replenishment process. I was like, whoa. So she's doing awesome there. David is also studying MB 800, and he's going to help us understand the something like dimension combinations feature. And he is also investigating a request to do something with Simple Object Designer, add some new fields for a customer. So he's doing some testing there to see if that is possible. And partner Ronald is continuing to support Partner Dashboard. I don't know that we'll get it installed this week. Hopefully next week we have a version ready to start managing all of our customer tenants, all of our customer environments, all of the upgrade dates, app upgrades, you name it, Partner Dashboard, one window. And in addition to doing Continia and Macorma, Ronald is now learning iSolutions. So we're going to be implementing iSolutions for our payment portal, our customer payment portal to accept credit cards, online EFT or ACH, so that we can start sending out the invoices with a payment link and just have the payment portal in place. As part of our grand design to have fully automated recurring invoices for our AppSource subscriptions, get the payment and apply in BC, and auto renew our customer subscriptions. It is a dream I have. Hopefully we can get it done. Franklin developed the Partner Dashboard. He refactored the time zone thing, works beautifully, and he just cranked out a custom check reports for 2 customers. Took him 2 hours. Bang, PR, done. Awesome job. He is absolutely on fire. He's working on a new AppSource app that we're developing, and I did the requirement/statement of work. He then converted that to a PRD, vibe coded it. He's got a beta. He's testing and refining from there. And because of the Salesforce customer we have, I gave him a challenge. Less than 2 hours, no more than 2 hours. He's got to stop. How much can he learn about Salesforce and their API and how to integrate from BC to Salesforce using AL in less than 2 hours? So that is his challenge this weekend. Fatima took her PMP certification exam on Tuesday, I think. So she went into San Salvador, 8 a.m., spent over 4 hours in that testing center, 180 questions for the PMI PMP certification, and I'm sure she is very relieved. So hopefully we find out this week, today, whether she passed that exam. I think she did, but fingers crossed. And she will be organizing our Dynamics user group for El Salvador, hopefully in early February. We need to double check the date. And this is a picture of one of the rodents. Look at that kitty in the pocket. So I get photos of our 3 cats, and they are doing quite well. 2 have been connected with people who want to adopt them. So we're waiting until they're old enough to get the vaccinations, and then they will go off to their new homes. So they are doing quite well, spoiled little animals. And apparently they are absolute psychos running around the house. So with that, take your pick, ketchup, mayonnaise, or mustard. And that's for those who are watching. If you are listening this on the podcast, in case you didn't know, this live stream has an audio simulcast published as podcast at podcast.stevendo.com. thank you to Mauricio. He is my podcast engineer, podcast producer. So he takes the audio, he edits it, he posts it to the podcast, to Twitter, to LinkedIn, and gets all the podcast goodness out there. So if you are just bored to death doing laundry, doing dishes, raking leaves, cleaning up snow in your front yard, you can dial this up and listen to some clueless guy babble on about Business Central and cybersecurity and cats in Berlin, El Salvador. So with that, que tengas un buen fin de semana. Have a good weekend. Have some good coffee. Get some rest. Vibe code some things. Check out Claudebot. I need to rebuild my Claudebot server. I miss my AI Space Lobster. It's pretty cool. I'd love to get it to be my personal assistant and remember things because I have the memory of a goldfish. So check out Claudebot if you're into fun, crazy AI Linux projects. It's a hoot. Okay, adios, nos vemos. Get out of here. Have fun.